Hiya! Welcome! Records Roundup has reached its quarter century with part 25, and I've only got 4 things to show you today. I've got plenty more on the way. I think there's 1 or 2 pre-orders that are due out this month, but I think what I've got to show you today is interesting enough for me to make this video today. And with there only being 4 records to show you, it might be a little bit of a quicker one today. We'll see though, as I've still got some exciting stuff and a couple of firsts for my record collection. And if you've had a look at the title, then you might know what I'm referring to, but we'll get on to those in a few moments, because first I'm going to show you a Discogs pickup. I would class this as kind of a grail, really. I mean, that's shorthand for having spent a lot of money, really, to be honest. This is something I've been looking for it, and I've been checking Discogs and eBay. Nowhere else on the planet seems to have it, and the price has always been way up there. It came out on vinyl originally. It would have been in the early to mid 90s. The edition I've got is a more recent reissue. And I might as well just show you. It is finally, for the collection, the first Scooter studio album, and the beat goes on. And this one, as you can see, is limited to 500 pieces. I always think pieces is a funny word when it comes to records, but 500 pieces on yellow vinyl. This was actually a Record Store Day exclusive in Germany, Austria and Switzerland, I think it'll be, in, I want to say 2021. It was either 2021 or 2020. It'll say on screen anyway when this particular edition came out. So I've been looking for this for ages, and although there's a fair few copies on the aftermarket, as I said, the price is just way up there. I mean, I can't remember exactly how much I paid for this. I did make a best offer on Discogs, so I did get some money off, and it was from a German seller who I have dealt with before. I think it was the same seller I bought the Rammstein Paris Super Deluxe box set off. So it was a seller that I'd dealt with and I trusted. So that was a bonus for me getting this, but more than what I really wanted to pay. But been looking for this ever since I decided I was going to start collecting Scooter on vinyl. I'm just delighted that I've got this finally. The normal black vinyl reissue that wasn't an RSD version, and I think came out 2020, tended to be a little bit cheaper normally, but even that was expensive. And like I say, the original vinyl pressing from 1990, whatever it was, that wasn't a particularly low price either. So I just thought, no, in for a penny, in for a pound. Managed to pick this one up for about probably as good a price as I'll ever get it. Does annoy me a bit that it's got the original price stickers on there. Does that say? No, I think that says €39.99 there. I was going to say that says $9.99. No, they wouldn't sell a record that cheap. But yeah, €40 this would have originally cost back in 2021. Let's get it open and I'll show you the yellow records, or one of them. Is it a... Yes, it is a 2-album set, 2-disc set. As you know, I like Scooter and I've been enjoying collecting them recently, as all their early albums have had vinyl reissues, many of them out on vinyl for the very first time. But I think after this album, the first one, they might have stopped releasing to vinyl for many years. Here's one of the discs. They're both yellow, so I don't think I'll bother showing both. But I do like the custom centre labels there. There we go, that's sort of translucent yellow there. Coming across a little bit dull on camera, I think, maybe. But held up to the light correctly, that looks very nice. It's the album I wanted on LP format. This is a limited thing. I'm only one of a few hundred people who own this particular edition. I like the fact that it's a Record Store Day release, but it's one that was exclusive to certain continental European territories. Most importantly, I think Scooter are fun. You know, that's what it's all about for me, record collecting. I've shown a lot of what I think people would consider cheese and just sort of maybe rather dated and corny Euro dance and pop music on the channel over the weeks, months, years probably. But it's what I'm into, you know, you've got to listen to what you're into. I watch a lot of channels on YouTube in the vinyl community, and the ones that I enjoy the most are the ones who are unashamedly fans of what they collect, no matter what they collect really. If they're into certain pop music, I'm thinking of people like TC from TKR Video Central. I mean, he's into some artists who are just even a bit too kind of kitsch for me, really. You know, your Barry Manilow's, your Donny Osmonds, and people like that, but he loves them, and I love that passion. I don't get that passion from certain channels. It's like, well, I've got this because, like, my audiophile mates said it was good. Well, it's some boring jazz album or some sort of 70s rock reissue or something, you know. Collect what you like is what I say, and my tastes are massively varied. And one of my tastes is, you could class it as hardcore. I love happy hardcore. I did an introduction to video showcasing some of my favourite happy hardcore tunes, and I didn't include nearly enough of my favourites in that. It's too short a video. That's in my music trivia playlist, by the way. Scooter, they mix sort of hardcore elements with Eurodance, and they're just great as far as I'm concerned, and they've been going for a long time now, and I hope their reissue campaign continues. That is their debut album, Finally Have It, and the beat goes on.
Everybody sing it!
Right, we're going to move on to two records, both bought from the Juno Records website, and they are types of records on a certain label, done in a certain sort of pressing that's very infamous, you could say, in the vinyl community. I've never owned any before, and now I've got my first two here today. I'm talking about Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab albums, better known colloquially as MoFi releases. And the first one from Juno I'll show you, and I've been eyeing up this one for a few weeks now, and the second one I'll show you was more of an impulse thing, so that suddenly came into stock, and I thought, yeah, in for a penny, I'll get that as well. But the first one is this album, the debut album from Yazoo, or Yaz as they had to be called in America, Upstairs Eterics. So, I'd seen this on Juno for a few weeks. It was the cheapest MoFi album on the website. All the other ones, and they've got a lot of the SACDs that MoFi release as well, were at least £50. I mean, most of it was like in triple figures. But this one was under 40. And I thought, you know what, to dip my toe in the MoFi waters, under 40 is probably as good as I'm ever going to be able to pay. Plus, another thing, I've always wanted this album. I like Yazoo. They only released 2 studio albums. I will endeavour to get their follow-up album to this before they broke up, and then Vince Clarke eventually went to Eurasia. Alison Moyet had a successful solo career. I want this album. It's the cheapest MoFi vinyl pressing that I've seen ever. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong places. There is ones that you think are going to be cheaper at Discogs, but they all seem to be American sellers, and obviously for me, once you factor in postage and taxes, then it bumps it up to 60, 70 quid, so it doesn't make them any cheaper. But I thought for about £38, £39, this was a good price. So MoFi, this is part of the, I think it's Silver Label series. It's numbered as well. My number is number, can I read that, 9,873. Not entirely sure what that's out of. I'm assuming it'll be out of maybe either 10,000 or 15,000, but I honestly don't know. It's been mastered on the Gain 2 Ultra Analog system. It's basically audiophile stuff, and I just wanted to get a MoFi record just to see if I could tell the difference. I don't think I'll be able to. Now, MoFi, as I say, has become a bit infamous in the vinyl community on YouTube. There's some people who are still big fans of the system, but there's others who have kind of turned their noses up at it after it was revealed, I think sometime either last year or the year before, that their supposedly pure analog remastering and pressing actually had a digital step in it. Now then, if that sort of thing really gets you goat, then there's plenty of VC channels. You know, go and watch Norman Masloff or one of his boring mates who'll be able to give you a nice 3-hour lecture on MoFi and the rights or wrongs of it. But as I say, I collect records for enjoyment, for fun. I collect artists that I like, and I was intrigued by MoFi. I almost picked up the Weezer album Pinkerton MoFi pressing about a year or so back on rough trade, but it was a little bit too high priced. I didn't really want to pay 60 quid for a Weezer record that I knew I could get for probably half that. It's on black vinyl. I think it's meant to be 140 to 150 grams. We've got the MoFi information down here. I'm just glad to have this album and glad that it's MoFi. It just seems a nice sort of way of dipping my toe in the water just to see if I can hear the difference. And if I can't, I've still got an album that I want. I think Yazoo are great. I love synth pop, love 1980s pop music, as you know. So Upstairs at Eric's on MoFi under £40 from Juno was a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
Sometimes when I think of her name, when it's only a game, and I need you, listen to the words that you say, it's getting harder to stay. When I see you, all I needed was the love you gave, all I needed for another day, and all I ever knew, only you.
But wait, I did say that I'd bought 2 MoFi albums. Now this one was a completely impulsive purchase, but when I was searching up the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab label on Juno again, this one suddenly came up for I think the same or a very similar price to Yazoo. I'd not seen it on the site before. It said low stock, so they must have got a very limited amount to sell the day I searched for it. I thought, you know what, I did quite like these when I was younger. Not a band I've listened to particularly much in my life, but I remember seeing them on Top of the Pops and 1 or 2 other places, hearing them on the UK Top 40. Not necessarily my usual type of music, but I streamed a couple of tracks on YouTube, and I thought, you know what, I'm enjoying these enough, I'm going to get that album, along with Yazoo's Upstairs at Eric's. And I'm talking about the Sisters of Mercy's first album. This is First and Last and Always. Once again, Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs. It's a silver label series, same sort of vinyl pressing, same sort of audiophile remaster. Once again, it is numbered there in the bottom corner. My number here is 7779. Can't really say an awful lot about this. I know it's the Sisters of Mercy's debut album. They've only ever released, I think, 3 studio albums, and then they just sort of packed it in about 1993. Although they do play live still, and they've sort of hinted at maybe one day getting back together to record a new album. It's not happened yet. Whether it ever will happen, it's difficult to say. Really, Sisters of Mercy, it's Andrew Eldritch, really. It's his project and whatever collaborators he was using at the time. So, not an awful lot to say about the sleeve. It's got that nice gothic look to it. I always liked the Mission, actually. I think I probably preferred them to Sisters of Mercy. But I think Sisters of Mercy were maybe considered the more credible. And of course, Wayne Hussey, well, I think will be that one there. He featured on the first Sisters of Mercy album here. And then he left to form the Mission shortly after. 2 MoFi albums, both under £40. Wouldn't normally spend that kind of money on most albums, certainly not a kind of impulse purchase like this, and I'm glad that the final album that I've got to show you is actually one that was a bit of a bargain, because I feel like maybe, not so much with Yazoo, but maybe with this, I may have overpaid a little bit, simply because I don't know how much I'm going to like it all. I like the tracks that I listen to on YouTube, but I've not heard the whole album by any stretch. As I say, once again, I think for under £40 on vinyl, that's about as cheap as I've ever seen a Mobile Fidelity vinyl Silver Series release. So Sisters of Mercy with their first album, First and Last and Always, on MoFi, you mofos.
And I get frightened, just like you. I get frightened too, but it's no time for heartache, no time to run and hide, no time for breaking down, no time to cry. Sometimes the whole world has is you've got to shake the hand that feeds you. It's just like Adam says, it's not so hard to understand it.
And finally, we can go to the mail for a mail opening, of course. This one is from HMV. This is a completely impulsive purchase, but had to have it because it was £9.99, reduced from, it said, about 25. You could probably find it for maybe between 15 and 20 elsewhere on the internet. I didn't look. I've never looked for this album before. Only ever heard one track off it, and I'll talk about that as I get it open. Don't think I needed my knife after all that, but never mind. So sometimes you get an impulse purchase and it ends up being one of the best things you've bought, because it's just a complete surprise, a lot of it, as to how good it is. I've got a feeling this is going to be one of those things, but I'm judging that based on the one single of this act that I've heard and that I know and that I love. This is, I think, the second studio album from The Associates, Sulk. This is a 40th anniversary reissue. It came out last year. Originally came out, obviously, 1982. When I saw that this was up on HMV for $9.99, I thought, a tenner. Brand new album, coloured vinyl as well. There's a single on it I love, so chances are I'm going to like most, if not all, of the album anyway. Why don't I just take a punt? And the single I'm talking about is what I think is one of the best singles of the 1980s, Party Fears 2. I wouldn't say it was like a one-hit wonder type thing for them, because The Associates, as I say, this was their second album. They'd had minor hits. They're an indie new wave kind of art pop duo from Scotland. And I am familiar with Billy Mackenzie, who is the chap on the left here with the hat on, because he collaborated with Yellow in the mid-1980s. He wrote or co-wrote The Rhythm Divine, which featured Shirley Bassey on vocals, and he was involved in one, possibly a couple of Yellow studio albums around that time. I'm a big Yellow fan. I've collected as much of their material on vinyl as possible in recent years. But as far as his original duo, his group, The Associates, are concerned, it's just Party Fears 2 that I'm familiar with, and that's track 3 on side 2. That is such a great single, one of the best of the 1980s as far as I'm concerned. Then that was good enough for me to take a punt on the whole album. And it being on coloured vinyl as well kind of swung it in the end too. So let's get it open and I'll show you what colour. Billy Mackenzie, no longer with us, and I think Alan Rankin, the other member of The Associates at this point anyway, in the group's history, I think he passed away quite recently. Nice inner there. And we've got a real nice solid blue vinyl record here. Sulk. Can't speak about any of the other tracks, didn't even bother listening to any more. I just thought, yeah, gonna get it. Oh, I think there might be an insert in here as well. Oh, it's like a 12x12 art card, this. Forgot that was there. Yeah, that's nice. So you could frame that if you really wanted to. I won't, because it's part of the album set. So excited to hear this album, and you know, if it's only Party Fears 2 that I'm really fond of, then for £10 I think it was a punt well worth taking anyway. The Associates, Sulk. That's it for Records Roundup, a shorter one today, but I think lots to talk about. The MoFi, the impulsive Associates purchase, the extravagant, but at least I've got it now and it's there, it's ticked off, Scooter album, all good stuff. As I said earlier, I've got more on the way. I did think about holding this video off until another record or two had arrived, but I was in the mood to do some filming today. There was only the album from HMV that came in the post, so look out for Records Roundup number 26, where there's a lot more great stuff to show you, and hopefully at least one or maybe two of my pre-orders will have come through then as well. We'll see. But thank you all for watching, and I want to say special thanks, as always, to my wonderful subscribers and my generous patrons. Please see all my usual links, such as Patreon, Facebook group, a referral link for HMV where you can get 20% off your next purchase there on the website, and one for content insurance as well, all in the description text box. I'm gonna go now. Plenty of stuff to listen to. Scooter, I've been hanging on to that for quite a while. That was quite an early purchase from this sort of record buying cycle since the last Records Roundup. That may get listened to first, but maybe not. I may go with the Associates, or I might even, as I'm itching to find out whether there's any real noticeable difference, there won't be for me because my ears aren't good enough, on the MoFi pressings for Yazoo or Yaz and Sisters of Mercy. And I do hope that all of you will join me again next time for the next Records Roundup and my next record collecting video. Cheers everyone. See ya!